Man, oh man, y'all. I wish I could just turn injuries off. This is just unfortunate. Victor Wembanyama is out for the rest of the season. Basically, he's got blood clot issues in his shoulder. Word on the street is that dude wasn't feeling good very recently, was kind of hoping to power through it after the All-Star break and all, and was like, gotta go get checked up, just not feeling well. And man, I'm glad he went and got checked up. This is some scary stuff when this happens. For those of you that don't know, like I'm no doctor or anything, so excuse me if I say some of this incorrectly, but from what I understand with these particular types of blood clots, if it like dislodges, like that stuff can go into like your brain or your heart, and that can kill you right then and there. And so that's some scary stuff. But the good news with these type of blood clots is that, once they're treated, very likely that things are just kind of fine after that. It's just something that you kind of have to monitor and be aware of. And so that's it for Wemby this season, unfortunately. And it's a scary situation, right? And so we're glad that that's getting taken care of for Wemby, but for us basketball fans and everything, it's a shame that we're not going to get to see him play the rest of this season. If we take a look at Wemby's stats this year, obviously we just saw him play in the All-Star game, and now he's going to be out for the year. 24 points per game, 3.8 blocks a game, pretty nuts. 11 rebounds, almost 4 assists. The turnovers maybe a little bit high. League average from 3. The field goal percentage could probably be a little bit better for how big he is, but you go and look at his shooting charts here. If he gets around the rim, it's game over, right? We'd like to tighten up this shooting chart a little bit. He's young. We have to remember, while we all have godly expectations for Wemby, and that's probably deserved. I mean, his talent is off the charts. You guys remember me covering the draft with him, where I was like, look, this guy's just unmatched. There's just nobody like him out there. It's just, there's Wemby, and that's what it is. So he's awesome, right? But we could still clean some things up. It's a very young team. It's still a very erratic team in how they play, and so it's not surprising to see a pretty scattered chart. I think we all remember a big chunk of this season, him taking a lot of these kind of ill-advised three-pointers. There were points where he's taking like 11, 12 three-pointers a game, and he wasn't hitting many of them. Kind of a weird thing. It kind of feels like the Spurs are very aware of where they are currently, and it's like, look, they're not true contenders right now. They had him and Chris Paul, who when we look at like those two on the basketball court, the Spurs are a very good basketball team when they're both out there, but as soon as you take him off the court, it's basically flushing a toilet. It's just kind of all gone at that point. But no, Wemby was taking so many shots from the outside. I know he's like made the second most like deep three balls in the NBA this year. It's something like that. It's like him and Steph Curry have like made the most like really deep three balls this season, which, why is he taking all those shots? Again, it seems like the Spurs are very well aware of the situation that they're in this year. They're like, let's just kind of let him feel things out. Let's let him explore the NBA a little bit. Let him take some shots now. It's not like we're going to be that good this year anyway, so you let your generational talent play around a little bit. Played in 46 games this year. How many have they played in total? Looks like just under that, so he hasn't really missed many games at all this season. We all know Wemby takes really good care of his body. That's a big thing that is so impressive about him. And then stuff like this happens, and there's nothing you can really do to prepare your body for something like this. It's just something that happens. And now, where do the Spurs go from here, right? That's going to be a big question to take a look at. We can take a look at Wembanyama's numbers this season. I mean, he's 98th percentile in estimated wins this season. He's 99th percentile in EPM, which if you're not familiar with EPM, it's basically how they rank like players overall. It's probably the best statistic that we have to actually like categorize like who's the best player in the NBA. Like they have Shea here, then Jokic, and then Wemby's number 3. That just shows how impactful he is. He's 99th percentile defensively. If you're curious who the 100th percentile is, it's Alex Caruso, Asar Thompson, Chris Dunn, guys that you expect to see up there. And then offensively, I mean, he's in the 93rd percentile as well. I don't need to explain to you that Victor Wembanyama is an amazing basketball player, right? Wow, 97th percentile defensive rebound as well, and then 100th on the block percentage, which actually, that's somewhat of a surprising statistic, because one of the things that aren't captured in statistics can never capture everything, right? That's an important distinction. A lot of these statistics are really well thought out, and they are extremely accurate. But one of the things that like should tell us, hey, Victor Wembanyama is actually probably the best defensive player, is there's so many people that just don't even try to go at him, and teams that just game plan around him because of how impactful he is, right? Like nobody's gonna say, okay, we can't attack Chris Dunn or Asar Thompson or Alex Caruso, right? I can promise you there's scouting reports where teams literally say, we're just not going to try with Victor Wembanyama. Like, why would I try to do that? That's just a losing effort. I can look at the statistics. He's blocking 10% of the shots that come his way. That's insane. I mean, who else is up there? Shout out Chet Holmgren, Donovan Clingan, who should get more minutes, Mo Bamba, Carlo up here right now. Shout out Carlo. Obviously not many minutes, but, is what it is. Wow, he has a 25% turnover percentage. So I'm getting distracted. Victor Wembanyama, he's awesome, right? The statistics can't even tell the whole story with him, and that's how good at basketball he is. But Spurs are the 12 seed right now. They weren't that good anyway. They've had a really good year, all said and done. When you look at the team, like they brought in Chris Paul, the team gets a little bit of development from the vet, right? Like you're seeing Wemby play some effective basketball. Cool. He's learning. That's what's important, right? Devin Vassell comes back from injury. He's starting to hoop a little bit more. Cool. You go and make the De'Aaron Fox trade. Awesome. You made out like bandits in that trade. Funny enough, swipe of the Fox, bandit, right? But you brought in Fox. You didn't have to give up anything interesting to go get him. So you have him on the team now. We didn't perceive that to make them a ton better this season. It's just more like, okay, why not just take him now for these assets? Like, let's get this thing going. And speaking of Fox, like he was saying just like a week and a half ago that like, hey, I actually have this injury that I'm going to try to play through this year. And at the end of the season, I'm just going to have to get surgery for it, but I'm willing to play through it for now. Sounds like he just wants to play with Wemby. Do the Spurs just kind of decide like, hey, what's the point of having you out here at this point? Let's just let you go get the surgery, start getting better now. It's hard to say, right? It's hard to say. Maybe there's some bonuses or something he's still trying to hit as well. That's another thing. Wemby probably can't win Defensive Player of the Year now. Can he? I can't imagine. He won't hit the games to qualify or anything, which is a shame because like Wemby's the clear guy to win it for the next like 20 seasons, right? I hope nobody was betting on that one because that really sucks if that's the case. That was really the only thing that was going to stop Wemby from getting there. But if you're a Spurs fan, you know that Wemby's going to be okay long term, right? Like he's going to be okay. They can take care of this stuff. Shouldn't be a huge deal. Fox, maybe you shut him down for the season as well. This does, now that I think about it, this reminds me of David Robinson, because David Robinson like went down for the season. The Spurs were bad and they drafted Tim Duncan, right? That's kind of interesting, actually. So does something, and obviously David Robinson was a little bit further along in his career at that point and was much better. But Wemby goes down, this team basically falls off like a cliff, right? I mean, we can go take a look at just like some basic on-off numbers here. Look at this. So on the court, the Spurs are solid, right? They're a +3. Off the court, -9. Like this just isn't a very good basketball team. As soon as he comes off the court, I'm kind of curious to actually take a look at some of his like lineup numbers here. What are some of the best ones he's playing with? So it's all when Chris Paul is on the court with him, right? So most of them is when Chris Paul is on the court, Trey Jones as well. The numbers start to get a little bit worse when you get down here. What's the difference here? Because Chris Paul's still on the court. I see Champagnie is now on the court. No, it's when like Harrison Barnes is coming on and Sohan. So him and Sohan not mixing quite as well there. Again, Harrison Barnes here. This is kind of a typical closing lineup for them, so that's kind of interesting as well. I mean, I like to look at like the two-man combinations to get a better sense of things. So Victor Wembanyama with Trey Jones, someone that passed him the ball. We saw this last year. Victor Wembanyama with Chris Paul, very, very good. Okay, so the Sohan numbers are pretty good. It's more so, okay, it hasn't been great with Fox so far. Vassell's coming back from injuries, Mamu and Keldon. Yeah, Keldon doesn't look to give him the ball much, so I can kind of understand that. Basically, the key to Victor Wembanyama's success is just getting him the basketball, and that's why the point guards that know to give him the basketball tend to have better plus minuses with him. But Spurs fans, you guys weren't going anywhere anyway, right? You really weren't going anywhere, and while it's unfortunate to see your guy go down, and we love watching him, is this really the worst thing? You got the Hawks pick this year, right? Hawks aren't very good. They might continue to fall off for all we know. They're 4-6 as of late. Maybe the Heat pick things back up. Maybe the Sixers pick things up at some point. I don't know. Maybe the Hawks fall, right? I think we could all see the Hawks falling. They definitely got worse after the deadline. So maybe the Hawks pick starts to creep back up and it ends up becoming like a top 10 pick. And then maybe you start to fall off because like we said, we just saw the numbers. Not very good as soon as you take Victor Wembanyama off the court. maybe you drop, and all of a sudden you're in the Cooper Flag, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey conversation, right? And then think about it. You might not need anything else after that. You got one of those two guys, you just get good solid pieces after that, and you've got 20 years of great basketball ahead of you. That's totally a possibility because you have Fox on the team already as well, so could be interesting. I'd love to see a Cooper Flag or an Ace Bailey on this team. It doesn't seem like Dylan Harper makes a ton of sense at this point, but maybe even VJ Edgecombe. I know they have Vassell, and I know they have Stephon Castle, who's looking like an interesting player, but obviously we kind of need like another scorer probably to go with this group, but I'm sure the Spurs are kind of just like, let's roll with this. They tend to be a very even-keeled organization that does things pretty intelligently. So I'm not tripping if I'm a Spurs fan. It's unfortunate though, and like seriously, like I hope Wemby is like okay and gets better and all that. But hey, you move on, right? We move on. Wemby's gonna be okay. It's not like a structural issue. It's just take a little bit of time, right? Heal up, rest up, and just get yourself right. And then Wemby's most likely going to be on the court, be one of the best basketball players again, and that's what's going to happen. Right? Look at this chart, by the way. Look at this block percentage here versus the next best guy in Chet Holmgren here. Look at that gap. That is enormous. Well, and that's my thing, right? Again, people are deciding not to like take attempts on this guy as well. That's the statistical like craziness of all of this, is that he's so statistically significant, and there's things happening in the game still that aren't even being captured by these numbers. So it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. But where do the Spurs go from there? I think you just kind of start to shut things down for the season. Let's let Stephon Castle have the ball a little bit more, right? Like, let's let him play with Chris Paul, start to figure some things out, see if him and Vassell work out at all. Like, let's let Vassell cook a little bit more. I don't really know what you do as far as like big men. It's going to be rough. You don't have Zach Collins on the team anymore. Not that he was helping a whole bunch anyway, but I'm here for Mamu. Let's throw Mamu out there and see what happens, right? I mean, there's a couple players on this team that just aren't part of the long-term plans, and that's totally fine, but let's let the young guys shine a little bit. Maybe raise their trade value or something. You can trade them in the off season if you need to, because maybe you end up with like a fourth pick and you want to take the VJ Edgecombe and you don't really need Devin Vassell anymore maybe, and you go, oh, you know what, maybe we'd rather just move on from Vassell. He makes a little bit more money and we go this way. I like Vassell personally, but you know, that's logic to me. Like, I could totally see that being an avenue that they go through. But yeah, no, I just wanted to talk about this because I think it's interesting. Obviously Wemby, we all love him. He's probably the face of the NBA going forward, right? It's a big deal, and I know that there's some people that are extremely impatient that are just like, Wemby's going to make the playoffs now, and he's got to do this. Like, oh, relax, okay? Just relax. Like, you're okay. You're okay. Wemby's going to be fine. This team's going to be fine. Wemby's going to be phenomenal. So we move on. We move on is the best that we can say right now, but we wish him the best. We really, really do. And I think that this is an opportunity for the Spurs to make more good things happen down the line. This was really just a season to let him develop anyway. So you go from there. Just some quick other notes, like probably no video right away tomorrow morning. I'm just recording this now and I only have so much time. I wanted to talk about this, but I'll try to get a video out like later in the day or something like that. But for the time being, this is your video. Leave me those comments down below. I always appreciate you guys' comments. You guys know I respond to every single one. Make sure you drop a like. It only takes 2 seconds, so just go do it. But hey, let's all wish Wemby a speedy recovery as well. But yeah, appreciate you guys as always, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks so much. Bye.